Hello, everyone. So I'm really happy to be on YouTube with you guys today just because on Instagram, sometimes I catch a lot of flack, and a lot of it is because I only have like a minute or 2 minutes to share a perspective, and I'm not really able to branch off and share another one. So it's nice to be able to take my time on here and in collaboration with the Nine and bring through an Arcturian perspective. So here's the thing. Today, I want to discuss the importance of boundaries. On Instagram last week, I ended up having to block someone because they met me, I think 5 months ago in person, and they said that I was really rude. And I agreed with them in the sense that if I go to a coffee shop and I'm going for the purpose of dedicating that hour to exercises with my pineal gland, most of the time my eyes are closed and I'm wearing sunglasses. And as you guys know, there are different ways to meditate. So if I stepped out of my house today and I said, my meditation today is I'm going to have an open heart with everyone and engage in conversation and just be really present and lend an ear to whoever it is that I'm speaking with, that would be a form of meditation. When you get into some of the astral projection, like I get into, like understanding multidimensional concepts, it's not better than that. I just want to be really clear. It's just that it requires a certain focus. If you look at someone who's, I don't know, a gymnast or an ice skater, and they start from a very young age, there's a certain discipline that is necessitated in order for them to succeed. So they may not be able, when they get older, to go to the high school party that ends at 3 a.m. because they have practice at 6 a.m. The people in their circle may not like that, and they may judge them for that. But they have a goal. That goal is to be the best skater they can be. So for me, my goal is to be the best version of who I can be by tapping into what I'm naturally impassioned by, which is gaining a clearer understanding of this quantum existence, of all how all these different realities can have such differing beliefs or differing approaches, but they all make up the fabric of consciousness. They all make up the tapestry of this universe, and they're all needed. So in order to understand all these concepts, I am required by my spiritual team to be very devoted to my path. Okay? So with that comes a trade-off. The trade-off is that I'm not always able to sit down and if I bump into someone in the middle of a meditation, be like, come and sit, let's talk. I can't always do that because I'm in a different dimension, you know? But I agree with that person from the outside looking in. I can see how I can be perceived as someone who is distant or cold or unapproachable because in that moment I'm in a different frequency, literally like a different brainwave. My eyes are probably closed, and then when I come back, I'm needing a minute to readjust when you say hi. And it's not that I'm not being friendly, it's just like I need a minute to readjust, because I've been in a different frequency bandwidth. So I've been contemplating on this week where it's like, as long as we're in a dualistic universe, we cannot watch two movies at the same time. You have one body. You have one body. So yes, you can throw on two movies, but it's going to be very disruptive to your system because that's a lot of sounds and they're going to clash and so forth. So being in this linear reality, even as a universal being of love and light, as a multidimensional being, you kind of have to pick your poison in life. You can't be a professional NBA player and be a professional NFL player. That's not possible in this reality. So the reason I share this today is because we make our choices in life and we have to follow what is best aligned and most aligned with our mission, with our purpose. And for me, I've accepted that this is my life. Now, that doesn't mean I can't blow off some steam with some friends sometimes and go out to the arcade, or if I'm on vacation, let's have some margaritas and kick it. Of course, I'm human. But I know that after that vacation, it's like, Phil, we need to get back to the grindstone, which is meditating and working with your third eye. These are very, your pineal gland is a very advanced technology or device, and it's very much like gymnastics. If you don't apply yourself every day, you're not going to understand the intricacies of how to operate it. It's truly like a device that you have to learn how to operate. It's like putting in all these mathematical codes at once and then sending yourself into a different dimensional reality. So obviously, I'm not sharing this to make an excuse as to why I couldn't sit with that person. I'm actually sharing it because I own that. I own that that's my journey. And it's not always going to suit everyone around you. Okay? When you start to awaken and you start to empower yourself, that's not going to always appease to other people or adhere to their belief systems. They might hate you for it because you're no longer conforming to what they want or expect from you. Yes? But you becoming a better person is going to affect the entire collective in a positive way. And as humans who have become so externally focused, we think, oh my God, I feel so bad because I can't spend time with this person. When in actuality, what you're doing, so those meditations I'm doing, are depositing recipes that are telepathically available to everyone. And they've been made available to me by other people who are as devoted to this particular focus. Okay? So, yeah, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was, I think deep down we all want to get along with each other. Like, I know that I love everyone regardless of our differences. But I also understand that when you love yourself, some people will not like that because you're mirroring something back to them that they don't like about themselves. And the message that came in is boundaries are something you place from one perspective, and from another perspective, they're naturally placed for you when you're in a different dimension. So in other words, think of, I'm getting a vision of like, you're in a spaceship and you're an astronaut and you have to strap yourself in and you're contained within the spaceship. So there's a boundary to your atmosphere, naturally, based on what you're focused upon. So if I decide to go to a coffee shop to meditate, to induce myself into a trance, because I'm in this other dimension now, there's going to be a boundary around me. I don't have to place it. You can think of it as like angels that are protecting you or shrouding you in protection, or it's more like a shield so that you can fully go in and travel into the depths of whatever it is that you're exploring. Does that make sense? So you can put up a boundary, but another perspective is that the boundary is placed for you. And both of those are equally valid. I got another vision the other day. So I was thinking about how when I first awakened, people at the gym used to ask me to spot them. For those of you who don't know what a spot is like, let's say they bench press. I haven't seen a lot of people ask for it when they're doing something else. Let's say someone's bench pressing. They want you to give them that lift and to stay with them to make sure that that lift doesn't fall on their chest. Well, I think this is a great analogy for the awakening process at large. If you're just starting to awaken, you don't have access to all the different timelines. In other words, you're not multidimensional yet. You still have programs embedded in your physicality. So even though your consciousness is awake now and aware and alive, your physical body is still carrying density, which precludes you from receiving the full spectrum, even though it's probably never full, but a pretty good wide spectrum of all the different timelines that will transpire if you say no, if you say yes, if you say sorry, I can't help you right now. You don't have access to all that yet. So I'll give you a great analogy. And this is relative to your ascension process and how important boundaries are. Let's say that I'm at the gym and I've just awakened spiritually, and my heart is wide open, and I'm at one with everyone. And if someone says, hey, do you mind spotting me real quick? Of course, I'm going to spot you. Now, all goes well, all right? Everything's hunky-dory. The next time I go to the gym, I might be working out on my favorite machine, and I'm feeling bombarded by like a psychic attack. And I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm not feeling comfortable. And then I turn around, and this is just a story, you guys. Like, I've been through this, but I'm giving you this analogy because the Nine said it would be a perfect way to explain this. Then I turn around feeling disturbed, and I go, and I realize that that same person who had asked me for a spot last week is watching me and asking me to spot them again. Like, they're trying to pull me into their energy. And the entire time I couldn't see them because I was focused on my workout, but I was getting psychically attacked by that person's frequencies. Now, they may not be aware that they're doing that to you, but we're all part of a field. We're all interconnected via our subconscious. So what happens is you're feeling attacked by all these frequencies. You turn around and you go, oh my God, this person's staring at me and they're expecting me to spot them again. So then you might go again. And when you go, someone else takes the machine that you were enjoying. All right? And then you spot them, you come back, your machine's been taken. Now you're building resentment. You're like, oh, I'm so resentful because this person asked me for a spot. Now, the more that you awaken, the more you realize, I'm not mad at the person, I'm mad at myself, but I'm not going to be mad at myself because I'm going to love myself instead. I'm mad at myself because I stepped out of my truth to go please someone else, and then I suffered the consequence. And now I'm feeling resentful, and it's a bummer. All right? So your awakening is an evolutionary process. Now, you learn from that. And what do you take from it? You decide from now on, I'm going to remain true to who I am. I'm going to put up a wall because I'm dedicated to this hour of exercise, and I'm going to be true to who I am. So, you see someone else and they're like, hey, can you spot me? Or can you spot me? Because you still have a bit of a crack in the wall and you don't know that you really believe yourself yet, and that you still might guilt yourself for not being there for people, you might go, okay, I think I'm just going to do it. And you might say, hey, I can only do it today because I'm busy with my workout. So this is the only time I can do it for you, which might stir up the pot, right? That's the issue you have in this reality, is when you speak your truth, it's not going to sit well with everyone. And then you realize, well, I'm so over having to speak my truth or saying no to people that I'm just done. I'm not going to engage with humans anymore. Now, I'm not saying that humans aren't wonderful beings. It's just that the majority of society is still very programmed. So if you do something for them once, they want it again and again and again. And from a different perspective, you're not really helping them because their guides probably want them to depend on themselves while they're working out. In other words, find your own inner strength to spot yourself. Yeah? And someone might say, well, Phil, that's kind of cold. Yes, I would agree with that because we're here to assist each other. And I'm all about assisting each other if we can appreciate it in that moment and not expect it again. And believe me, you guys, I'm like a mad scientist. I'm constantly examining every energy within the field without my subjective opinion. That's one of the gifts I have because I've really trained my third eyes. I'm able to study the collective, whether I'm in meditation or whether I'm observing people, and not get my emotions involved, which is how I was able to connect with the nine, because my vehicle has to be clear. And that doesn't mean that I'm pure. I don't have flaws. I have flaws. But when it comes to dissecting energies, I'm really good at getting out of my own way and breaking it down in a way that doesn't discredit anyone or doesn't judge anyone. That's my entire practice, is can I study the multidimensional field of existence and agree with everything and see how it serves? So if someone said to me, Phil, if I was at that coffee shop, because someone did comment on my Instagram last week, if I was at that coffee shop and I was in deep prayer, I would just invite that person into prayer with me. And I agree with that, depending on what you're practicing. So if I, let's say, had decided to invite this person into my prayer at my coffee shop, well, first off, I wouldn't have been in the same dimension, because now it'd be shared with another person. It's kind of like when you have an apartment and you're sharing it with someone else, there's someone in your apartment. So that would kind of disable me from fully accessing everything that I was accessing. Second off, every time I see them at the coffee shop, they may want to sit with me and pray with me. And I can say this objectively because I've experienced every single one of these paradigms. I've been the guy who goes to spot you, and then I build resentment. And then I'm like, oh, I just want to be left alone and I just want to focus on my workout. I've also been the guy who had to say to that person 3 times after, hey, I won't be able to help you with this anymore. And I could tell that their ego flared up and they were like, who are you, right? And that's who they were from the get-go, but I couldn't see it because I wasn't honoring my truth. You guys get it? It's very complex, but it's also very simple. The more that you honor what's true for you, the more you're going to expose what is untrue about this universe, which is, to me, what is untrue is anything that isn't rooted in love. It's the lies that people feed you. Oh, you weren't there for me. I needed you. That's an expectation. That's not love. So it's probably coming from a projection. However, from a different dimensional viewpoint, I can also see how that person is hurt. I can compassionize with that. Because let's say that you've been there for them your entire life, and then all of a sudden you pull out, right? Then of course they're going to be thrown off by that. And that's where compassion comes in. But compassion doesn't mean I'm going to keep subscribing to this. Compassion means I'm sorry I can't be there for you in the way that I could before. I just really need to stick to my guns and follow what's right for me. And I've had moments where I've questioned myself. I'm like, do I need to dissolve these walls and let everyone in? And what my guys are always saying is, Phil, we have you on a very specific mission. If you weren't on this mission, you wouldn't be able to disassemble this information for people and explain these multidimensional concepts. It's thanks to my meditations that I can do this. And every time I live as a dot, every time I keep to myself, it just feels right. But to others, it may not feel good. It may not feel good to them at all, because I'm not adhering to what they expect of me, or how they think I should behave. So I think this is really important for us to keep in mind. You cannot play 2 video games at the same time. You can't watch 2 movies at the same time. And by design, that's not going to make a lot of people happy. Not everyone is going to be satisfied by your choices. And I think deep down, we all have like a little kernel or a little sliver of ourselves that wants to be loved by everyone, or that wants to get along with everyone. But we're not there yet collectively, because people don't understand that everyone is still on an assignment, and that assignment requires a certain focus, and that focus might mean that they can't hang out with you. And it's not that they're rejecting you, it's that they're committed to their own path. I hope this is making sense. I was also thinking about how some women or some men, like if you try to look at them or objectify them, and this has happened to me too, where I'm sure I've done it to people or they've done it to me, but there's certain people, like if you try to look at them in a sexual way or flirt with them, it's like there are thousands of angels around them. Even if they're not looking, that will be like, don't even try. I have angels around me that have said that to countless people. And I didn't even have to look, because I have a boundary around me that I haven't necessarily placed, but it's kind of like formed. It's like a structure. And this structure is formed by integrity, by honesty, by truthfulness, by not doubting what I'm doing on this planet. And that structure becomes more and more and more pronounced. So that structure is consciousness, is breathing, living, pulsating intelligence. You can liken it to your angels, to your guides. You know, you might be able to look at a woman crossing the street and she doesn't even know, and you're violating her by looking at her. And maybe it's because she hasn't learned how to set that boundary yet, or maybe that there's something about her that's still attracting that. And it doesn't make her a bad person. It just means that there's still infiltration happening. So we want to pay attention to everything in life. 360 degrees, right? 360 degree awareness of all that goes on. And remember something else. God lives in boundaries. To other people, you might be a bad person if you're icing them out, or if you're just keeping to yourself because that's all you're doing. But are you a bad person, or are you perceived as a bad person? That boundary is God mirroring back to them that they still hold judgment. And you guys know I talk about judgment a lot because judgment is the main thing that we're here to clear. Main thing. Even this talk about veganism, non-vegan, these are all dualistic concepts. Dualistic concepts. And I said this in one of my videos. If you have to step out of your alignment to impose your beliefs on other people, that is the opposite of enlightenment. It's the opposite. At the end of the day, it's you do what's best for you. And if you can sleep at night, then you're good. And know that it's serving in a capacity that you may not understand. We're all anchoring in different timelines. All of us. All of us. And someone asked me, like, can you maybe elaborate on this whole like veganism thing and all this? And I'll touch on it very briefly. Until we fully grasp energy as a whole, how energies work, we have no right to dictate someone else's reality. Because let's say that you're a practicing vegan, or you're a vegan, and you stand for that cause. I honor you. I honor anyone who is aligned with their soul purpose. But if you have to go shove that down people's throat, I have to question, are you really aligned to your purpose? Because when you're enlightened, to me, enlightened doesn't mean you know it all. It means you've been touched by the light. When you're enlightened, you live and let live. Because you understand that by being the best version of who you are and complying with your own inner guidance system, with your guides, with your angels, that energy is going to thread out to the entire collective merely by being the example of what you represent. You don't have to step out of your body to make that happen. Because we're all interconnected within this subliminal network, all right? So if I work on myself and I'm committed to my assignment, I'm anchoring different timelines. So I consider myself to be an anchoring unit for multidimensionality. Not everyone meditates 2-3 hours a day. I do. It's part of my assignment. So multidimensional awareness is being anchored by me and by many other starseeds. And then other people might be vegans and they're anchoring in the timeline of conscious eating and so forth, right? And if everyone does their due diligence to remain aligned to their true self, then we will have heaven on earth. But heaven on earth doesn't happen by scolding people and burning people at the stake, you know? And the other thing I wanted to share is, if let's say you're a vegan and, and this has happened to me numerous times, and I have nothing against vegans. All right, so it's happened to me numerous times where I talk about it, and then someone with a huge vegan following will humiliate me to their following. They'll reshare it to their following, and then I get bombarded by, I don't know, 100 messages a day by people hating on me. What I want people to understand, and this is not information that I want to relay, it's information that is part of my assignment. So don't shoot the messenger. When you throw me to the wolves of your followers and you're like, look at this human, he's giving this opposing perspective on veganism, you just killed me. You literally have just killed me, not in this timeline, but literally on a different timeline. In other words, even if you're a vegan and you're not killing animals, you could be sliding a knife in me when you throw me to your followers. That's just how it works. People don't understand that yet. That's why it's imperative that we go inside and we stop casting stones, because that's what they did to Jesus. They threw stones at him because he was just speaking truth, which mirrored back to them their own hatred. And instead of looking at themselves, they threw that on him and they killed him. All right? So this is a multi-dimensional universe, you guys. It's a multiverse. It's not just, oh, I'm a vegan and all is well. No. How are you treating the people around you? And the same truth goes for everything. If you're a Christian, if you're in a relationship and your wife tells you, please don't tell me what book to read, and you keep imposing that book on her, that's you not finding peace within yourself. So as long as you have to step out of your own personal alignment to go change another, that's the opposite of enlightenment. And that's my point. And I think this ties back pretty well with this topic of boundaries. It may not suit you that I may not be able to speak to you that day because I'm in the midst of a meditation, but that's yours. That's not mine, right? And I think that when we start to elevate and we understand that we're all doing our part, like we all are like a piece of the jigsaw puzzle, then you might go, oh wow, Phil has his eyes closed. Maybe he's in communication with God right now, or in conversation with Source, or in conversation with his guides, and I'm not going to bother him. And because I respected him, I've just upgraded myself. But by saying he's rude, all you're doing is you're keeping the planetary body of Sophia, of Terra, of Gaia at a standstill. So boundaries are needed for us to look at ourselves. They're needed. Otherwise, that person at the gym's constantly going to bother you for that spot. And then you're going to have to leave the gym eventually, right? But the thing is, you don't have to leave the gym. You can stand tall and say, hey, I won't be able to help you with this anymore. I won't be able to help you with this anymore. But I encourage people to set strong boundaries, because everyone's like a diamond. And we all have so many different facets about us. We have the dark side, the light side. And I'm interested in knowing all of you. I want to know what's hiding, which is why I'm so open and transparent with these perspectives. Because we're not here to hide or to use, anything in life as, yeah, this is making me stronger. I'm more enlightened because I'm a vegan, or I'm more enlightened because I meditate every day. That's still a crutch. Can you be enlightened from within? Forget all this dualistic stuff of food. And I'm not saying forget it. It serves a purpose. But if you're still shaming another person for what they're choosing to do in this life, which they know is in alignment with their intuition, then you're still killing them on a different timeline. So the vision I'm getting now is you can be in 2019, and then you have another aspect of yourself that's still in the 1800s, and you might be a knight or a warrior, and every time you judge someone who's not a vegan, or every time you judge someone who doesn't think Jesus is the only way, or every time you judge someone for not reading the book you want them to read, or every time you judge someone for them not inviting you to sit with them, you're killing them. You're the knight that is in a loop cycle, killing the other soldier over and over and over again. And the way that this multidimensional universe works is that all of these timelines, these quote unquote past lives, are existing concurrently. They're all happening simultaneously. And every story is rewritable when you change your energy, when you alter your perception. Every timeline is changeable. Every timeline. And then the knight in the 1800s is going to awaken in the middle of the battlefield and go, whoa, I just had an awakening. And that awakening came from that person in 2019 that decided they wouldn't judge non-vegans anymore. You get it? And I have a video about that titled Your Parallel Selves, but that's how it works. Boundaries teach people how to honor the divine in themselves. Boundaries teach people how to honor the divine in you. And because people are still banging their fist and they're like, oh, I'm not getting my way with you, so I'm going to try to control you, because they still have such a tight grip on this physical reality, they're keeping themselves in that loop cycle. But eventually they'll get there. They'll eventually realize, I have my own assignment, Phil has his own assignment, Melanie has her assignment, and can we all love each other and understand that it's serving a purpose? If anyone thinks that all of humanity is going to be turned vegan in this lifetime, they're ignorant, because that's not going to happen in this lifetime. The majority of humans are not vegans. I'm not saying that we may not be on a trajectory towards veganism. The timeline where we don't even eat food already exists. That's my point. But we need this timeline to check our judgment. We're so impatient. As a collective, we're so impatient. We're like, no, you need to do this because this is the only way. No. We're on a perfect trajectory. Most of us were born into a society where we were raised with meat. Extend compassion to your fellow brother and sister. You know, I always joke and I say, if ever I get killed someday, it'll be by a vegan. And how ironic, because they don't want people to kill animals. And that's just me being funny, but there's a bit of a truth there. How are you treating people when they're not doing what you're doing? And this video is not about veganism. This video is about how narrow-sighted we are. How we think that our way is the right way, and right or wrong are dualistic concepts. And they're important, okay? They're important. If gay people never fought for their rights, I probably would have a really hard life right now. It's thanks to them they paved the way, but they understood that they wouldn't see the light of day in their lifetime. They were forging a pathway for the future. And to me, if you were to give me option A and option B, what's more appealing? A gay couple who has a baby in a stroller who's just going about their business? Or a gay person who's like, accept me, you need to accept me? No, option A for sure. Because option A are people who are living their truth in a meek way, right? The Bible says the meek will inherit the earth. I've never read the Bible, but that quote really made sense to me. They keep to themselves, and they understand that by being the example and impacting someone like me who sees them on the street as a gay family, that to me is way more touching and way more impactful. So by being the example, you're depositing a recipe for the entire collective to be able to access. But because we've lost our way and we're so linear in the way that we think we have to go outside. When really, it's an upload. It's an upload. All these downloads I receive from the Nine, they're not my downloads, right? They existed before me. But by sharing them, I'm further uploading them for people to be able to gain access or more insight more readily. That's what I mean. We're uploading recipes. If a woman has anorexia, she suffers from anorexia, and that's really tough, all right? It's really tough. But let's say that her assignment is to heal that. while she's healing it, she's going to be receiving downloads from all the other women who healed it too, or men that healed it too. It was a recipe that was made available to her. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy for her, right? Because it's all dependent upon the collective, how dense it is collectively, right? So if a lot of people are still feeding into their anorexia, it's going to be harder for her to heal it. But there will always be that recipe that she can tap into. And when she comes out of it, it's going to be more available for everyone else who deals with anorexia in the future. That's an inside job, though. You understand, you guys? It's not an external job. Now, it is an external job if she starts her podcast or she starts her vlogging and then she shares her journey. Then she's aligned with her soul, and that results in her purpose. But the purpose should never lack peace. It should never lack harmony, right? Like, how dare you eat meat? Like, that's not God. Because God gave you a free will. You have a right to do what you want with it. God would never impose its beliefs on you, ever. And I think it's time for us to awaken to this fact. And I know I did kind of like a remix with this video. I kind of blended it all in, but I think it works. You may not always agree or understand why someone isn't giving you the time of day, but it's not personal, it's vibrational. They're focused on their mission. You may not always understand why someone, keeps to themselves in your Pilates class, but maybe they've already seen how much bondage we create with each other. And I believe, and I've seen, a society where we can just enjoy talking for however long the universe wants us to talk. And the next time we can cross paths and be like, nice to see you, and we don't have to talk. I believe in that, and I've seen that. I always am a time traveler because I've seen the future version of Earth. I have. That's why I say, you guys, there's no rush. Be good to yourself. Be good to your fellow human. Be good to your brother and your sister. It's good to defend animals. It's not okay to throw another human to the wolves just because they're not a vegan. It's very contradictory. So we're all trying to figure it out. And that's my message today. And I know that if I had a child and they were struggling with addiction to porn or addiction to, drugs or whatever, I would never say, how dare you? I would love them anyway. I'd love them anyway. And I feel so connected to the Ascended Masters, to Jesus, to Saint Germain, to, in many ways, the White Wing Collective of Nine. They have that energy of agreeing with everyone. I don't disagree with you. I agree with you, but time is an illusion, and everything is going to be fine. I think sometimes we underestimate planet Earth. She's so powerful beyond belief. We underestimate her. So, yeah, boundaries are really important. God dwells in them. So you may question yourself when you set a boundary, but don't question yourself. If what you're doing feels like it's in sync with your mission, then you're doing it. And there are so many lies that are always being fed by people. And I'll tell you why. This is very important. And I know, wow, this is a long video. I know I've already shared so much today and so much to process, but most humans are still very programmed, you guys. Most humans have not dealt with their traumas. Most people are still anchored in duality. So when you awaken, you have to step aside from everything and everyone for a while. Because as long as you're interacting with humans, you're interacting with programming. And when you own your light, when you carry that torch, right? When you ignite that inner flame, everyone who's still governed by a program may have an adverse reaction to you doing so. And that's not them. That's not the divine being that they are. that I know them to be. That's just programming that they have yet to clear or erase. But there's a lot of truth to the whole Agent Smith in the Matrix. That's why for me, I keep to myself most of the time. Because when your third eye is open, you can see every potential timeline. I can't tell you the amount of times that I bumped into someone and I got like this weird vibe, I shouldn't engage with this person. And you don't always understand why you're getting that. Now I do, because I can really see those timelines. And then 5 months later or 6 months later, they'd be like, you're a horrible person. I'm like, yeah, that's why I didn't talk to you. Because I sensed it, I intuited it. So as long as people are heavily programmed, they're going to project so much onto you. So much. And everyone's entangled. Ugh. It's this huge entanglement. Thinking I know better, thinking you know better. Why can't we all agree with each other? And from a quantum viewpoint, understand that two opposing perspectives can coexist. One doesn't cast out the other. You can say to me, Phil, I really feel like smoking is bad. And I would agree with you. But I would also say, you'd never understand why someone is smoking. Maybe they're processing some stuff that's bigger than the smoking. Maybe they just lost their mom. Maybe they're just enjoying it and they're tapping into different thoughts. You just don't understand. So maybe can we learn how to coexist together and accept our differences? So important. And in many ways, I feel like Jesus and Saint Germain and all these ascended masters, because I personally don't want to share these messages. I don't. But I also want to, because I know it's part of my mission. And these ascended masters are cheering me on. Because people get so stuck in minute things that they miss the larger picture of reality, which is that you are not just here. You are on thousands of timelines right now. Thousands. Thousands. I had someone ask me in a reading today, Phil, how many past lives have I had? That's a linear question, you guys. How many lives are you having? You might be a dolphin. You might be in a tree that you hugged the other day. You might be in Sirius as an alien. We're everywhere, you guys. But because our mind has been so entrained in a linear fashion, we think we know. But until you fully understand the notion of energy and how it works quantumly, you don't know. You only have a tiny piece of the puzzle. So I'll leave you guys with that. And I'm sending you so many blessings. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And thanks for your likes. Thanks for your donations tonight. I really appreciate it. And I'm sending you so much love and so many blessings.